Well, it's the start of the week and Monday once again, and I couldn't be any happier that you're here because we're going to do a countdown plus one. This is a bit of a different one. You'll see how it works as we go because this was a fan-suggested topic. This was the top 10 Transformers trucks. Now, as the voting went, and as you would probably expect, by far Optimus Prime was going to take number one. So, we're handling things a little bit differently. Optimus Prime will be the plus one, and we'll kind of go through the top 10 Optimus Primes very quickly and sort of unofficially here. And the actual top 10 will kind of be all of the other trucks that got votes other than Optimus Prime. Clear as mud? Stick around, you'll see what I mean as we jump into the latest GotBot Counts Down. Hey one, hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, man, please like, comment, share, of course subscribe, and while you're at it, light 'em up, baby. Hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton. It lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All of that in the description down below. Also in the description down below, and if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. You can check us out on Patreon. You can see what we have to offer to you through Spring, or of course, you can hit the join button right here on YouTube and become a channel member. And this is, as I said, the top 10 Transformers trucks. I'm going to do the honorable mentions first and get those out of the way. There were two honorable mentions, that being Onslaught, who is definitely like a military gun turret type of truck. And the other one I thought was interesting. It got votes. I don't know if it's actually a truck. I guess it's a truck, a Cybertronian truck, and that is Rodimus Prime. Now, to be fair, some of the votes for Rodimus Prime refer to the Unicron trilogy Rodimus Prime, who does, in fact, turn into a truck. And a couple of people said, well, even the G1 that turns into the, the camper is really a Cybertronian truck. I don't know, but, it's the way the votes went. So those two, Onslaught, Rodimus Prime, honorable mentions. Of course, they didn't make the list. And there's a plus one on the list, the one that would have been at the top by far, Optimus Prime. If you amalgamate all of the versions of that character together, which, for ease sake here, that's what I did. But it does kind of open up a little bit of a caveat that we can do here before we get into the meat of the main list, and that's the top 10 versions of Optimus Prime. So these are the versions that got votes, or at least the top 10 versions that got votes. Some people have said, why don't you just do a top 10 Optimus Primes? Because Optimus Prime has had so many versions of himself that, while we might do it one day, I don't know kind of how that would really go. But this is something that I like. Some people said for this list it should have been top 10 trucks other than Optimus Prime, and I said no, I'm going to leave Optimus there. I'm curious to see how many votes he gets. I will tell you now, in total, all of the votes for Optimus Prime teetered on 200 votes just for him. Not quite there, we're a bit short, but teetered on 200 votes. How did the breakdown go? Well, here's how the breakdown went. Coming in at number 10 for Optimus Primes, we have MP01, the very first, biggest masterpiece. Some still say the best. Then we had MP44. Everybody says the same thing about that one. It is the most animation accurate. How could it not get votes? Number 8 was MP10. A lot of people see that as a quintessential Optimus Prime. I'm not a huge fan of the mold, personally, but I understand the popularity and the lineage that it has. Number 7 was the Power Master Optimus Prime. The original Power Master Optimus Prime. And you know what? I get it. That nostalgia factor, man. I remember seeing that package. I remember seeing him in there and thinking, he looks different, but it still captured the feel of Optimus Prime. Funny enough, it was Power Master Optimus Prime that comes in at number 7, not the Ginrai or Super Ginrai. Although there were a couple of votes specifically for the Japanese iteration of that character. Coming in at number, I think we're at 6, is the Studio Series 38. I don't know the mold, but I've only ever heard good things. Certainly as a version of the movie Optimus Prime, it's one of the most popular. Next we had the, speaking of movie, Age of Extinction Optimus Prime. There are people that to my shock and awe, voted for that. Now, to be fair, a couple of the votes for the Age of Extinction body type really went to Unique Toys, and I think their Optimus called Challenger, if I'm not mistaken, which is probably the best version of that Age of Extinction Optimus Prime. So the three MPs, Power Master, 38, Age of Extinction. Then we had Armada. Armada came in at number 4. And, like, I get it. You know, I know that there are people that's their Optimus. Funny enough, I don't remember seeing votes for Cybertron Optimus or for Energon Optimus. So I find that really interesting. Coming in at number 3 is the Dark of the Moon Leader Class Optimus Prime. I get it. I mean, the thing is renowned as being one of the best, not only movie Optimus Primes, but one of the best mainline Optimuses that there ever was, both in robot mode and truck mode. Big, hefty, chunky, at a time when Leader Class actually meant something huge, actually meant something substantial for what you were paying. Then we also have, on top of that, Earthrise came in at number 2, because for mainline Optimus, a lot of people say that's quintessential, though a couple of people really detest that Optimus Prime. But, you know, I mean, he did come with a trailer, whether you like it or not. I use a different trailer, of course, with the Second Chance trailer. Then there's, you know, the fact he comes with a Matrix, and he does have his blaster, and generally his coloration is generally right. Like, there's a lot to like there. He came in at number 2, and by far, the number 1 truck in all of Transformers, the number 1 Optimus Prime in all of Transformers, gotta be G1, and I find it funny because more and more I've seen the meme lately of, you know, just to prove, people will argue about anything. Here's the greatest toy ever, and it's the G1 Optimus Prime. And you know what's really funny? There's an argument that that is the greatest toy ever, because it is the thing that established Optimus Prime in the pantheon of pop culture. It is the thing that they have really mimicked, not only the transformation of, but the look of time and time and time and time again over the last 40 years. Perhaps no character from any franchise has ever had more versions of himself than Optimus Prime. And it all started with that Diaclone that was adapted to become Optimus Prime. I don't know if it's the greatest in terms of construction and stuff, I get that, but in terms of the impact that it has had on pop culture and the Transformers franchise, G1 Optimus Prime may very well not only be the best truck in all of Transformers, but arguably the best toy ever because of what it led to. Now, that kind of bonus little quickie countdown of best Optimus Primes, the 2 honorable mentions, none of that made the official list, even though, to be fair, we all know that Optimus is really the +1 at the very tippy top, right? There's no debating it. But to keep the list kind of interesting and to give you know, other trucks and other characters a chance, we're going to put all of that to the side, and we're going to do what we always do now with these lists, with the main list, and we're going to kick things off with number 10 first. Coming in at number 10, we have the Grumbly Gus Minibot known as Gears. That's right, good old Gears. He hates being shipwrecked on Earth. He doesn't like the green. He doesn't like the biological aspect. The guy would rather be nice and cozy, toasty warm home on Cybertron. But here on Earth, he did take the alt mode of a 4-wheel drive pickup, basically. And you can't deny that that's a truck. And enough fans felt the same way that good old Gears took the number 10 slot. Coming in at number 9, you can call him Trail Cutter, you can call him Trail Blazer, but at the end of the day, he's this guy. Good old Trail Breaker. Now the guy is basically slow. He uses a lot of gas. He's a 4-wheel drive. I mean, he's an 80s truck, right? As a matter of fact, he's based on a Toyota Hilux 4-wheel drive camper truck. That's what he's supposed to be. Officially, he is indeed a truck. Funny enough, I always thought he was a Jeep of some sort, or a Blazer, or a Bronco, or some sort of thing like that. Little did I know as a kid what he actually was. But now that I know, there's no denying that Trailbreaker, as good-natured and jovial as he is, as slow as he is, as strong as he is, takes the number 9 slot. Number 8, in some people's eyes, might be a little bit of a cheat because it's this guy. That's right, it is RID Scourge. Now some people might say, hey, that's an Optimus Prime analog because he was a protoform that was stolen and then like basically given Decepticon programming, and like he scanned some parts of Optimus Prime or whatever. He's basically like a version of Optimus that's like a dark version, or a Nemesis Prime type of version, or I think in Japan he's called Black Convoy, and it has a bit of a different personality. To be fair, it is the Robots in Disguise Scourge iteration of the character that got the votes. And while a lot of people would say he is a dark version of Optimus, he is a very different version. He is a Decepticon, he is a unique character, and that's why Scourge, by himself, is able to take the number 8 slot. Coming in at number 7, well, this guy can fix, he can build, and he can tow. That's right, of course it's Hoist. Yeah, it's Hoist. The classy, debonair, British accented Hoist. Often kind of like plays a second to some of the things that Grapple likes to build. He's generally good-natured. He is somewhat heroic. I believe he even had a hand, if I'm not mistaken, in saving Red Alert in Auto Berserk at one point from, I don't know, one of the fires or something. He is a team player. Hoist is always a team player, and he always does it with a certain finesse, a certain panache, if you will. Maybe that's related to his accent. I don't know. But undoubtedly, being a tow truck makes this guy a truck, and that's why Hoist takes the number 7 slot. And here at number 6, heroic and inspirational, thy name is Thunderclash. That's right, Thunderclash. And usually he is the leader of the Turbo Masters. He is big, he is bold, he is fierce, he is intelligent, he's brave, he's inspiring. He's all the things that like an Optimus should be. And he inspires the Turbo Masters usually by being their leader. However, in some continuities, it's my understanding that he also leads the Wreckers, and I could see it. Any way you cut it, he is a leader. He is like a commander-in-chief of certain groups. He's, I guess, a sub-commander, if you will. But he's one big, beautiful, glorious, big rigged truck. And a lot of people that vote for him also said he's well overdue for an update, and I can't say that they're wrong. One of the best Autobots and one of the little appreciated Autobots takes the number 6 slot. And now we're at the most magical of locations on the list, the halfway mark. And at the halfway mark, we kind of sort of have a tie, so to speak, but really it's this guy. That's right, it is the movie live-action version of Ironhide, who turns into a modified GMC Top Kick 4500 four-wheel drive truck. That's a mouthful for you. But, kind of tied in with it and got equal votes, so I kind of put both of them together, is the Combiner Wars Ironhide, who turns into a truck that really was done as a nod and an homage to the live-action version. So, like, votes for the Combiner Wars Ironhide were kind of counted as votes for the live-action Ironhide, if that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, he's a pickup, right? Whether you're talking about the Red Lad that's Combiner Wars, or whether you're talking about the live-action version, either way, they don't turn into the like traditional van that Ironhide turns into. They turn into pickup trucks, which is a truck, and it took the number 5 slot. Coming in at number 4 is one of everybody's fan favorite selections, and it's this guy. That's right, the lovable Bulkhead, the big, burly bruiser with a heart. Whether we are talking about the animated version, which turns into some version of like I think a 6-wheeled military truck, or the Prime version that turns into an approximation of a Hummer, or the Legacy version, which turns into an approximation of a Rabbit H-18 military truck. They're all trucks. Bulkhead is a big, burly, militaristic type of truck, and there's no denying that you're going to notice that big green guy barreling down the road, whatever truck mode he takes. Bulkhead, fan favorite, took the number 4 slot. Number 3 takes us back to one of the earliest characters and one of the earliest Cybertronian trucks that we had with this guy. if not one of the earliest Cybertronian trucks, I would venture to say that good old Cup is definitely the best known Cybertronian truck. Fun fact, when I got the G1 one as a lad, I thought he was a car. And I actually drove him around backwards because I got him before Season 3 premiered, I guess on the channels that we got. So I knew the, die cast and plastic long before I knew the actual, I guess, like, animation version. And I don't, like, we never had a theater around me, so, like, there was no the movie. I'd heard rumblings that a movie existed, and a couple of years later, after Season 3, I finally saw it, but I didn't see it when it first came out or anything like that. Once I found out that Cup was a truck, and that I was driving him around backwards the whole time, the way he was supposed to be driven, I thought it was so strange. I was like, I don't know if this truck would be very functional. There's no tailgate, there's no sides. It was the weirdest truck. But the more I saw it in animation, the more it grew on me. And now, I can't imagine rolling him any other way than the way he's intended to roll. Because, obviously, he's a truck, right? Whether you agree, whether you disagree, the fans think that he's a good enough truck that he took the number 3 slot. We're almost at the top, and at number 2 we have he who claims to be the king of the road. That's right, it's Motormaster. And of course, he turns into a, make sure I can get this right now, a Kenworth K100 Aerodyne sleeper truck. I think I got all the words in there. He's a transport truck. He's a sleeper cab, right? And of course, he tows a long, silverish, grayish trailer, right? Any way you cut it, come on. One of the most foreboding, formidable trucks in all of Transformers that you can imagine. The terror it would inspire in you as it barrels down the road has to be the classic character of Motormaster. And enough fans felt the same way that he was able to easily take the number 2 slot. And here we are at the top of the list, number 1. Now we all know that the actual number 1 is Optimus Prime, right? We all know that Optimus Prime was such a number 1 that we actually did a quickie top 10 versions of Optimus Prime based on that. We all know that the G1 Optimus Prime took it head and shoulders. However, in an effort to kind of make this list as inclusive as possible, putting the Optimus aside, looking at everybody else and all the votes other than Optimus Prime, who came in at the top? Who came in at number 1? If there wasn't any version of Optimus Prime considered, who would have been number 1? Well, it would be this guy. Yeah, Ultra Magnus, the guy who, in many people's minds, should have been the next leader of the Autobots. He should have inherited the Matrix. I know that's not how the story goes, and it's not even open for debate. We all know Rodimus Prime, well, was the leader, but a lot of people still feel like, Magnus kind of got a raw deal. That being said, the votes that rolled in were kind of evenly split between the RID Ultra Magnus, who was an amazing character with a lot of character growth, could of course combine with Optimus and whatnot, and the G1. Oddly, we didn't get votes for animated Ultra Magnus or Prime Ultra Magnus, or if people meant that version of Ultra Magnus, they did not specify. The only voters who specified were ones that were voting for G1, which of course turns into a tractor trailer that, is a car carrier, or the RID, which I get. Either way you cut it. And even if you wanted to throw in the other ones that weren't mentioned, even if you wanted to throw in his Cybertronian mode from the War for Cybertron game series, any way you cut it, any version of Ultra Magnus you want to think of is a truck, and Ultra Magnus takes the number 1 slot. And that's it. We've gone from 10 down to 1, and then we did a mini 10 down to 1. I hope that it was clear. Going from 10 to 1 on the actual list, other than Optimus Prime, we had everything from Gears all the way up to Ultra Magnus at number 1. And then in the mini list of Optimus Primes, we start off with MP01, which was the first masterpiece, all the way to the Generation 1 Optimus Prime at the very tippy top. It was a very interesting way the voting went. A lot of people said, well, this one's going to be all Optimus Prime. That's why I did it this way. You gotta trust that I'm going to try and include as much as I can on the list for you guys, because you deserve it, right? Other votes that didn't make the list at all include Holler, include 07 Long Arm, Pyro got some votes, Artfire, Quick Mix, me Slag voted for Slag, Inferno, Erector, The '07 version of Dropkick, not the one from the Bumblebee movie. Who else got some here? Age of Extinction Galvatron, Brawn, Nemesis Prime, Dark of the Moon Sentinel Prime. Who else? Huffer, Pipes, Orion Pax, and even Heatwave from Rescue Bots got enough votes that he almost made the honorable mentions, but not quite there. He needed a couple more to make it. There you go. Them and so many more got votes. Did your favorite trucks make the list or not? I appreciate you guys coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. You can check us out on Patreon. You can see what we have to offer to you through spring. Or, of course, you can hit the join button right here on YouTube and become a channel member. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, stick around, have some fun with us, and especially don't forget that somehow, some way, each and every single day, you right there, you do make a difference. And I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights, at the stop motion premieres, or the old-fashioned way right here, inside the videos.